Welcome back. I'm excited today. This is a interesting problem that we hear about all the time. It's like, my partner needs to do the work because I'm really into this new thing, this change, but my partner's just not doing the work, not changing, not making an effort.
You've never said that, of course, right?
Yeah, no.
Your partner's never said that to you. You've never even thought it. We've never thought that.
Never. Okay, no, we all do that. So it's a big deal, and I thought I should welcome all of us to lean in a little bit more and start to recognize taking a little bit of self-responsibility. When are the times that we are curious, we do want to grow, we go out and we learn something new, say about sex, that's kind of fun, it's cool. However, when we bring it back to a partner, there's a lot of resistance, or we secretly try and introduce it and then they're like, this is weird, what's going on? And just stuff starts coming up. So what do we do when we have all this curiosity? We want to learn, we know things need to change, but there's a lot of resistance.
And ultimately, this is really a message of inspiration. A lot of you might be thinking, responsibility, that means like, we got to put in the work. And you always hear this, you got to do the work and it's got to be hard and difficult. The truth is that honestly, just kind of like going to the gym, the hardest lift is getting your butt off of the couch. We're sitting here on a couch. Is making the choice to go ahead.
Yes.
Because we will catastrophize in our mind, we'll come up with all these excuses, all these things that we don't even know if they're even going to happen. Because time and time again, we have consistently seen when one person makes a choice, it shifts things in themselves, in their partnership, and in the way they relate to the world. And a lot of the things that they're afraid of don't happen. Some of them might, but all of a sudden they realize it wasn't difficult to navigate, and it definitely was possible. And the beauty of this is that it does something even more than give you the results. It gives you that feeling that you have power, that you have the ability in your life to actually inspire and maintain change in a way that you hadn't experienced before. And then a whole new cycle of existence happens because you are fueled by your success.
Yeah, I like that. I think that we're all going to have fears. Change is something edgy for all of us at all times. We want to be comfortable, and yet we're here, we're evolving, we're emerging, we're growing, and it is possible. Research is now showing this, that sex can get better every single decade. So what does that mean? We're evolving, we're exploring, we're growing. But if we are resistant, if we kind of suppress even the anxiety and the fear, and we don't lean in and just go, ooh, that's an edge, then what do? We get a mediocre life.
Yeah.
That's not inspiring, and then usually it adds some sideways behaviors like affairs or other types of behaviors that we don't feel really good or proud of. So here's the thing, I've seen this scenario show up in a few ways. One is the person going, I'm always broken, I'm the bad one, I'm the wrong one, I need to perpetually fix myself. Once I'm fixed, we're gonna have the most extraordinary relationship.
Yes.
The other is, my partner's the broken one, they need to be fixed and they need to do all the work because I'm perfect and I'm just waiting here for them to fix their broken self until we can have the perfect relationship. Yes. And then the third is, I don't have a partner, so what's the point?
Yeah. And when the partner comes along, then they are going to magically fix this for me, or I'll magically step up.
The partner is going to activate all of my goodness, all of my awesomeness, all of my pleasure and orgasms like no one's ever done before. It's the magic partner.
In a lot of ways, these are just different forms of procrastination.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's frame this conversation in a way that becomes really useful to you. Yes. Because, hey, we're always on a growing edge. I mean, we're constantly growing and expanding and learning, and there's times where I'm resisting, there's times where you're resisting, there's times where we're both grabbing each other's hands and diving right in, there's times where we're both going, maybe we just watch a movie. So it's normal and it's beautiful, it's part of being a human being. So I love pleasure, I love intimacy, I love having shared mission. So can you just give us very briefly a nice outline of the three pillars that we work with, and then we're going to move into stories to make this very real, because that's how we learn best.
I just have to say I really love touching you as we do this podcast over so often. You probably can't see it on camera, but my hand will sneak down and just do a little
naughty
pet there on the leg, a little on the knee, a little touch there, some warmth, and as I see your lips moving, I do have a tendency to want to kiss them. So anyways, where are we again? You wanted to talk about some pillars.
The three pillars that we work with. Well, I'll start it with embodied love, because we have that as the name of the podcast. We have that as the name of our university. What does it mean to actually embody love? And that's where the three pillars can come in.
Well, and that was kind of my sneaky segue there. Well, I was also getting to do a little touch and a kiss there.
Okay. So embodied love.
Well, this is the thing. We talk about the importance of love. We speak about the power of love. But the question then is, if love is not, and it isn't, just a feeling, but an action, then how do you actually embody love? And then how does that embodiment of love turn lovemaking into making love? How do you actually make love?
I think when you first brought that question forward to me, I remember going, oh, how come I've never actually thought about it in that way? Like, I thought about it like your actions are stronger than your words, you know, in that kind of way. But in the visceral way of if I want to elicit more trust, what does that look like in an embodied way? If I want to elicit more arousal and playfulness, what does that look like in an embodied way? Not just yabber or, you know, sharing of memes, you know, back and forth on the phone, but actually embodied here in the present moment.
Well, so this comes down then to the three pillars, and right at the center, and even if there isn't such a thing as a centerpiece, I'd say they're more of a triangle.
Yes.
And you have intimacy. And this is really important, because intimacy, as we speak about, embodied intimacy, isn't, you know, the roses. It's not the candlelight. It's not just the ambiance. It's actually, the Latin root is intimare. It's the impressions you leave, to impress upon. So in other words, if you look at this from an embodied place, what are your actions? What effect do they have on your partner and yourself? What is that, if you think of a stone and you were to, it was soft or maybe even clay, and leave your handprint in it? This is what you're doing when you are touching your partner. You are literally leaving an imprint on them. And this can go in many different ways. So when we talk about intimacy, coaching, we're speaking predominantly about the communication, your ability to signal your yes, your ability to signal your no, the feel through the maybe, so that you can start to create this wonderful loop of truth, responsibility, trust, and celebration.
We talk about that in many episodes, but it is worthy to just pause and say those four again. Truth, which is, at the most basic, what is your yes? What is your no? What is your maybe? It's so hard to do that. It's so hard to do that because so many of us, especially, well, I don't know, maybe it's also true for men, but definitely for women, we do not want to offend our partner. We don't want to disappoint them. And so we put on an act.
And it changes
over and over again. And sometimes it's like the very thing I asked for yesterday is no longer interesting to me today.
Sometimes
and I don't
5 minutes.
I don't know why. And then I get confused in my body. I'm like, I was enjoying that, now I'm not enjoying that. Is there something wrong with me? And then there's a spiraling going on in the head, and then meanwhile there's a weird communication.
But that's the thing. So if you approach this from a I think or I should position, it would be, think about dancing. If you had to be thinking about, what should I do? What's the appropriate thing to do? And by the time, yes, she wanted you to step forward with the left and spin her. Well, 3 beats later, when it finally lands, you're not in that same position, and then you try and do it. Well, that would have worked great then, but not now. So again,
so truth,
embodying your truth online dynamically, where it can be changing. And in fact, it needs to be changing. I mean, think about it. If you were making love, then that truth of the moment, if they just continually stayed in it, it wouldn't feel real. It's
you mean if they were frozen or something?
Yeah, if they were frozen, or
in one particular loop.
Or the beauty of that first kiss, where you're both leaning in and there's that pause right before your lips meet, which is really nice. But then if that became where it stayed at, later it's nice when then the lips come together, and then it's nice to separate. But you only feel that when you're really in the flow.
So truth is dynamic.
So having the ability to feel each other's truth is dynamic, but actually what is happening in that moment and being able to express it and receive it, allows for one's ability to respond, responsibility.
Yeah, ability to respond. It's super important. It's not ability to react. It's a responsiveness.
Go into a little bit more of that difference.
Yeah, so response is a healthy way of engaging with all the kind of surprises that life throws at us, and we get to respond to it, we get to engage with it in a creative way. Reacting is reenacting how I responded the first time this stimulus came in. So, for example, maybe when you touched my thigh, years ago, the first time my thigh was touched, it led to trauma. So every time you touch my thigh, I react, I close down, right? Something like this. Whereas now I'm actually safe. I'm with a beautiful person. Life is good. You touched my thigh. I take a deep breath. Maybe I feel like, ooh, that wasn't nice, but this is nice now.
Yes.
Now I'm moving into a very dynamic, healthy nervous system who can track that this is safe, this is good, and it feels good in the present moment.
And if it doesn't, all of a sudden my response sees you as opposed to withdrawing, as opposed to me getting upset or going in myself. I go, oh, she simply said no, so I allow myself to come back or stay where I'm at.
And then check in.
And then check in. Yeah. And then maybe your body opens up. And then maybe my hand
but then that creates
right there,
the trust.
Which then builds trust.
Yeah.
So there's a dynamic that happens. And this is, by the way, not just between you and your partner.
This is all of life.
This needs to happen as well within yourself.
Yes.
When it happens within yourself, you start to trust yourself more to then be able to even do this with a partner. Then that trust builds, and as that trust builds, maybe your partner's legs start to open a little bit more.
Hey.
And then a little bit more. And it feels really good, and you go into celebration.
There's something so exquisitely sweet. So there's a re-emergence of erotic innocence when this is done well. And especially if you're a timid person or you come from a background where things weren't so nice, or you've been in a relationship for a very long time with the same person, the way to enliven it, the way to meet the truth of the moment that's emerging here and now is that erotic innocence. It's this, there's no right, wrong, good, bad. You're just being present with what's unfolding and receiving it. So my experience with your touch, if I can reveal that, is it kind of takes my breath away each time. There's a heat that you have that I really like. So the immediate warmth is like, my system kind of relaxes. I can trust now, because you've touched me enough times, that I know that that touch is both one that's generous, it's a giving touch, and it's also inquisitive. It's like, what else would you like? Or how would you like? But without asking me always. And sometimes you can tell immediately that my muscles need stronger squeezing. Other times you can tell immediately I just need like a hug or to be held. And other times it's like arousing touches. So that responsibility is also the responsiveness to this incredible truth that's constantly like emerging. It's not one truth and it just stays, as you said, stagnant earlier. So I love that. So that final piece, just so we don't avoid it, celebration, which graphically can end up being like orgasm or intense pleasure. It also can be laughter. It can also just be peacefulness. If you've gone through some difficulty with your partner or on your own, and it's just been tumultuous and it's like intense and your nervous system's always been on alarm, a phase where you both feel at ease and relaxed but still like very enlivened is so nourishing. And that's a form, to me, too, of celebration.
In general, when we look at the kind of spectrum of transformation that happens, but specifically celebration, we have people that are moving from anger and pain into pleasure and joy. We have people moving from shame, blame, or a sense of disgust into closeness, intimacy, celebrating the other person, or honoring them. And then you have the movement from fear and anxiety into a calmness and relaxation. And also too, the just kind of boredom, numbness into a curiosity and novel experience with your partner, a discovery of them and going and moving into actual adventure.
Well, here we're discussing like kind of I'm the broken one or you're the broken one issues, or like I'm alone, so that's an issue. So we're looking at that. But I want to say, we've witnessed this so many times that I can say this with confidence, that when a person or a couple come together and they're really present in this moment and they're paying attention in an embodied way, and the only way you can feel an orgasm is right here, right now. You can't feel it in the future or the past. It's happening here and now. The only way you can actually feel that true joy is here. It's getting generated in that moment. So the embodied aspect of discovering each other, what I have found is that people fall in love over and over and over again. So if you could imagine the falling in love over and over again is actually your capacity together or just on your own to meet life with wonderment and awe. And in this era right now, when meeting life is mostly out of like terror or anger or frustration or just judgment, to actually be able to shift into wonderment and awe is a big flex, and it's a necessary flex. And so how cool that we get to do that, whether it's solo practice, which you need to do even if you're partnered, especially if you're partnered, or in partnered experience.
And I want to also say that in this cycle of especially that trust moving into celebration, for some of you that might seem a bit odd, where you're used to normally being kind of shocked into pleasure or being taken or overpowered. And there is an aspect of that that can be extremely exciting. And on some level, you need to be able to not go into a complete freeze response to then go, okay, yes, I can enjoy this person, but the reason why we emphasize trust and celebration, this gets a bit into relaxed arousal, and we can go into the next pillar, which is then sex. Or actually, no, the next pillar we'll go into is attachment and relational values, is that when you start to go into this place of a more relaxed arousal, or specifically pleasure becomes the thing, because you're no longer just transforming anger into joy, but you're already, for the most part, predominantly living in joy, calmness, relaxation, discovery, and intimacy and closeness. Then the next thing you'll notice is that this actually starts to have its own set of fears of not, oh, okay, I'm being angry or fearful in the sense of like that my body's locking up, but more of a, where can I trust this to take me there? Do I actually deserve to be able to stay in this? This is a whole other area where now my partner's not fighting me and things are actually good. And we can have a tendency to self-sabotage. So to go into...
I mean, I think it was Gay Hendricks. Is it Big Leap? It's an interesting cover. It's like a goldfish leaping out of its bowl.
Okay.
But he maps out that almost everyone has this glass ceiling on joy and on many things, on winning, on many things. But this is especially true relationally. If, say, your thermometer, it was set by how you were raised. So if in your familial life there was discordance or whatever was going on, whatever level of joy was allowed to exist in the house, which for some families there wasn't any, then your thermometer set quite low. So when there's a little bit of joy that kind of pops right at that level or slightly past, thermometer goes crazy and then kickstarts everything to push that back down, which is your comfort zone. And what Gay Hendricks was talking about is you need to actually just completely remove that glass ceiling and be comfortable with this ever expanding, exploratory, like what's possible, because that's the emergent nature of human beings. And that's where I think it becomes really exciting to be your own best partner, your own best lover, and then really exciting to bring that gourmet plate that's full and luscious to another person. Go, hey, I would really love to play with you and see what comes of connecting and exchanging on this level.
And continuing your own self-practice. Because again, if you fall into the department of, well, I need my partner to go ahead and do this. We've seen so many times that when the partner does that and they awaken, then the other person's like, oh my gosh, what do I do with all this added energy? In fact, then
Then
they
you have to
either
face your
will
stuff.
fall back or they have to face themselves. But the main thing is that they need to have developed that trust in themselves to actually allow themselves to finally be in a whole new, healthy, oriented relationship.
I've seen this over and over again. I could name 2 women right now where this is super true. With partners long term, both partners a bit overweight, not fit, getting older, just becoming grandparents, whatever. And then the woman suddenly going, no, I don't want this. This is not what I want. And starting to she quits the alcohol, she quits the sugar, she starts to walk every day, she decides to go to the gym, she's doing other things, gets her body back, gets her energy back, gets her sexuality back, and really wants to engage. But the other partner, instead of being inspired by all this transformation, suddenly is faced with, I feel tired, I feel grumpy, I feel unmotivated, I just want my beer or my whatever it is. I want to just sit in front of the TV and not think about sex. So you can see can be a disparity at times in those moments when there's one partner who suddenly decides to make a big change. However, there's times too where that partner who makes the big change, the other partner can then gently be inspired and like, I want to do this with you, which is one of the things I feel that you do with me. Like, I really want to have this fitness experience with you. I'm like, well, you're way more fit than me, but we have it together. And then I grow and I learn and it's something fun.
And again, that's where you need to have done your own work. So that way when the change happens, you're also ready to work on the positive side of things as things move further into excellence, as opposed to just trying to survive whatever wasn't working beforehand. In fact, I was just watching a movie, the Smashing Machine. I like the UFC, and this was about a fighter that had to struggle with opioids, and his partner was definitely there for him, feeding him, taking care of him. Eventually he passes out on the floor, has to take him to the hospital, helps nurse him back to health. But then when he goes through rehab, comes out and is super focused, then she's the one that's falling apart. And there's this conversation she's having with her friend where she says, I liked him much better when
I had to care for him,
when I was able to care for him, when he was the one that was down and out, and now I feel like the person that isn't good enough. And so all the ways that she looked down on him when she was helping him, now she's looking down on herself, but she hadn't done the work for herself because she was always so oriented on him.
Well, let's pause here. I do want to jump into the membership and get into some juicy stories, but just for this public side, let's pause here. This is a really important moment. Take a moment right now and just kind of evaluate where you are at in your life. Are you the partner right now, or maybe you're solo? Are you the person right now that's really leaning into growth and developing yourself and suddenly having like a renaissance, like a burst of more vitality, or exploring, or just whatever? Like the one client we had who went off the birth control pill and her libido just went woo, and then she's like, wee, let's explore, and then kind of feeling like the partner's like, I don't know how to keep up.
I've kind of toned myself down because for years you didn't want it.
Exactly. Or are you the partner right now who's feeling more shut down, who's kind of resistant, just kind of a little bit annoyed with the forward momentum, and you were more comfortable when things were, cozy but unaddressed? Check in with that, and in wherever you are, then ask yourself, what is it that I would love? Do I want to have deeper relation? Do I want to have a life that's more full of vitality? Ask yourself these questions in the here and now, and be really honest with yourself. There are times where you might feel like, I don't care about this anymore. I don't want this. And when you're at that phase, you had mentioned it earlier, that boredom and numbness, that apathy, it's the heart fire that's closed. And so even more importantly, if you're at that phase of development where you're like, I don't care about any of that, doesn't mean anything for me anymore, that's apathy. And apathy is really dangerous because human beings are meant to be lit up. So if you're at that phase, okay, let's accept that we're at that phase because we all end up there at some point or other, but recognize what it is, and that there is possibility, a little bit of like, oh, this could be different, and it doesn't have to be difficult and awful. Like a lot of times when we work with people, the embodied journey of discovery is actually really beautiful. It can be way more simple than people imagine. Could be just simply changing how you breathe, for example, which might sound like redundant, but it's actually quite powerful. So just being at that place of honesty with yourself. If you are in partnership, does it actually matter for you to feel more connected, for you to grow and explore together, to have more dynamism or not? Like really having a look at that. Sometimes it's time to part ways if you've really come to a place where there's absolutely no value in being around this person and you can't find anything lovely.
But then you do it from a place of knowing. And hopefully the both of you do. So that way then you don't just relive the same cycle in the next relationship because, it's really hot and fiery at the beginning, but then 3 months, 6 months, 1 week, 3 years later, however long that cycle is for you, it doesn't just keep repeating itself, and you can actually evolve into something that you truly want, which brings us to the two other pillars, which I think we should discuss before we jump over to the other side.
Okay, well, do them quickly because I want to go, because it's the topics of them. The topics of them I want to get into in the explicit because it's juicy.
Well, I want to point them out then very succinctly so that you can also see the way that we work, which is different than how most are going to go about this. And that is when we look then at attachment patterns or the patterns in our behavior, and these could be easily recognized as you're the type of person who's like, okay, my partner just needs to do their thing, I need to do my thing, you need to do it, or else it's not going to work out. Or the other type, that's kind of more on the avoidance side, is the anxious side, which is like, no, we have to do it together.
Every single step.
I can't do it if they don't do it. They can't do it if I don't do it. Like,
how dare you have an extra smoothie when I only have the one?
And the truth is that there's a balance between it. People need to be able to do the things on their own, and they also need to be able to do things together because you are, at the end of the day, relating both to yourself but to one another. Mm-hmm. Now, where things are different with how we work with you and how the Embodied Love University works with you, as opposed to just being able to analyze and diagnose, well, what's your attachment pattern,
and then kind of just leave you with a label,
or here's the pattern of communication that you need. We start with the body and getting you to encounter a new experience. You talk about the Gnostic philosophy, the place of knowing
through direct experience.
Through that knowing with direct experience, you will get information on yourself, on your partner, and together. And then as you start to actually begin to tweak things and discover new experiences and go, this is how it works, then you're going to develop an internal motor, an internal fuel that's not going to make it just feel like work. Because as you step into health itself motivates the change. It's the difference between trying to cut everything out of your diet to lose weight and simply eating and living correctly, which feels good to the body. And sure, there's a bit of a transition, but then it feels good to the body and it starts this perpetual motion within you that is required to actually continue to change a lifestyle, as opposed to always just trying to fight against gravity. No, gravity actually works with you, and that gravity is health. So if you can start to bring a healthy, vibrant, pleasureful sex life with yourself, with your partner, this isn't the dessert that gets done at the very end when everything is good. This is actually the main course, along with exercise, along with nutrition. It is just as important a part of your health, pleasure, to how your internal organs function, to how your psychology works, to the way that you relate. They're looking during COVID at the number one predictor of a person doing well, and that was that they actually had a good sex life. It was allowing for a better relational life, a better physical life, and a better psychological life, those that remained sexually active in a positive way. So when you start to understand that pillar and how the bodies work as a system of pleasure, and not just turn taking, but one that complement each other to create a synergy of pleasure, then all of these other aspects come from that place. It's very different when we have a discussion about what to do when haven't connected physically than when we do.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what we mean by embodied love.
Yes, and so what we'll jump into in the explicit is really, how do you create resonance, out of moments of dissonance, which is like literally the embodiment of these things moving forward. So if you didn't know, we do have an explicit side where we get a lot more into the how-to, we get a lot more graphic stories. There's an erotic audio that we record.
I'm curious what this erotic audio is going to be about.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see what comes out of it. But you can upgrade to that at theembodiedlove.love.
And it's not acted out erotic audio. We actually go through an intimate experience.
And sometimes they're like, we've literally recorded when neither one of us wanted to connect.
Yes.
And recorded the whole journey, and then listeners were like, thank you so much, that was so impactful to hear how you moved from contraction and shutdown into expansion and connection.
Because then you can hear
in real
and feel
time.
the transition that happens.
Yeah, exactly. So we love to walk our talk and definitely model everything we're talking about. So why don't we jump into the explicit side?
Sounds good.
All right. To join us for the complete and explicit version of this podcast, just simply upgrade your membership and you'll get instant access.